Here we go. It's the business end of the season. Everton are still going strong in the Premier League, still going strong in the FA Cup, and still going strong in the Champions League. Can we keep our hopes of securing a historic treble alive? Let's find out. But as ever, if you're enjoying the series so far, please feel free to like and subscribe, and let's get into today's episode. A huge and important 1-0 triumph over Arsenal in our very last episode means that with just a handful of games left remaining in the Premier League, we are just 2 points behind Newcastle United, but we do have a game in hand. However, with us still being in all three cup competitions, including the FA Cup semi-final and the quarter-finals of the Champions League, as you can see as we head on down to the last month and a half remaining of this season, the games are coming thick and fast. And my biggest question has to be, with such a small squad and with such a lack of experience at the top end of the Premier League table and at the business end of those type of cup competitions, do these players have what it takes to try and get us over the line by the end of the season? I ask this because having taken control of the Premier League title race in the first half of the season, storming to the top of the table, we have let it slip in the second half, and now, as you can see, comparatively to the likes of Newcastle United above us, our goal difference is significantly less, and that is because we are scoring significantly less goals. Now, whilst Brian Brobby is my top goal scorer this season, with 19 goals in 34 appearances in all competitions, only 13 of those have come in 24 Premier League appearances, and the majority of all of those goals did come in the first half of the season. Things are starting to dry up for the Dutch international. And whilst the likes of Moukoko has also chipped in with 16 goals, again, only 9 of those have come in the Premier League, and Bakayoko scoring 10, with just half of his goals, 5 being scored in the Premier League as well. Now, if you compare the performances of my strikers in comparison to those in the rest of the Premier League teams, you can see we aren't exactly hitting the heights that we need to be. Brian Brobby was competing with the likes of Haaland and Alexander Isak at the beginning of the season, but ever since then his form has dropped, and he has dropped down to now 8th place in the top goal scorers rankings. As for Moukoko, he has dropped all the way down to 18th place in the rankings, and I've got to be honest, if we want to be challenging for the Premier League title and if we want to win the Premier League title, surely you need a striker who is going to guarantee you at least 20 goals a season. It is kind of frustrating though, because these two were performing sensationally in the first half of the season, practically scoring every single game they played in. Now, tactically, I've not made any changes to my starting 11, and in terms of their instructions, there's no changes to that either. I want them both to stay central and to make attacking runs, getting in behind the defence to stretch them as much as they can. But it seems right across the board, in the Premier League at least, the goals seem to be drying up here in the second half of the season, and I'm not quite sure what I can do to try and rectify this problem. So if you've got any suggestions about exactly how I can get the best out of my more attacking players, please let me know down in the comments what you think. Speaking of getting the best out of the players though, they are going to need to be at their best, as we now have a triple header worth of games against Manchester City. Now, after an extraordinary 10 minutes in the second leg of the round of 16 side against RB Leipzig, we managed to secure a 2-1 victory and a 4-3 victory on aggregate to seal our place in the quarter-finals and to face off against English giants Manchester City. But after a tough-to-take 1-0 loss at Goodison Park in the first leg, we have it all to do. However, heading into our second game against them, as you can see, things aren't as rosy for them in the Premier League. They have slumped from Premier League champions all the way down to 7th place, and they are 8 points behind us in second. And so incredibly, as we head back to Goodison Park to face off against them for the first time in a very long time, we probably go into this game as the favourites. However, due to that midweek Champions League game, I have been forced into several enforced changes to my starting 11. Yes, Pickford keeps his place in goal, but Nathan Patterson comes in at the back, as well as Ian Maatsen on the left-hand side. As you can see, a heavily fatigued Branthwaite and Mark Gay both still have to play at the back because Zangante has even more fatigue. James Garner and Onana partner each other in the centre of midfield, with Damsgaard behind the striker. Dwight McNeil plays on the right, Jota plays on the left, and Moukoko gets the nod up front. So here we go then, the second of 3 big game ties against Manchester City. This time it's in the Premier League, and this time we must get the 3 points. Jack Grealish for Manchester City just carves his way around. Nathan Patterson, like he's not even there, but the Englishman, his English compatriot Mark Gay, wins the ball back off of him. Really strong challenge, and he gives it to Dwight McNeil, but Dwight McNeil loses it to Rodri. The Manchester City press here is heavy, and Haaland plays it into Rodri again, and now the Spaniard can go into the box, but this time Branthwaite comes across. Really good defending from the young man, and Dwight McNeil brings it away. Jota. Nice little pass there into Onana, and Onana's going to try and stretch the play here out to Nathan Patterson. Nodded down into the path of Dwight McNeil. He turns around the corner, looks for James Garner. James Garner was trying to feed it into Moukoko, got the pass all wrong. Rodri. into Kevin De Bruyne, who's been uncharacteristically quiet so far in this game, but he's coming deep to try and put a stop to that. And what a lovely little shift of balance, shift of his body from Nunez, just to cut through two of my players and to cut through my midfield, and instead plays it out to Rodrigo. He plays it out to Rodri, into De Bruyne again, and De Bruyne strikes. This time it's easy for Pickford though. Going to be a corner here that Manchester City are going to take, and it's thrown in by De Bruyne yet again, and Akanji this time with the head puts it wide. Nathan Patterson has it out of defence. It's been a real ding-dong battle so far in this game, but we have been unable to really carve out any decent opportunities here. But we're going to try and see if we can make a change to that, as it almost falls to James Garner. But just about Manchester City get the ball clear, but Mukoku wins it back again high up the field, into James Garner, into Damsgaard. Absolutely lovely. And once again, Damsgaard steps up when I needed him to, and fires a wicked strike into the top left-hand corner. Well, it all started with the press from Mukoku. Lovely little back heel into the path of James Garner, and he could have been selfish. He could have took the strike on, but instead had the composure to pick out Damsgaard, and a first-time strike right into that top corner gave Ederson no chance whatsoever. It's 1-0. Rodrigo now for City, looking to fight back immediately, and he goes past two of my players, but instead cuts it back to De Bruyne. A lovely pass though into Haaland. And why, word, you would have put your house on Haaland scoring from there, but in the end he fired it straight at Jordan Pickford. Jota now has it. End-to-end stuff here as this game starts to open up. Tried to play a lovely ball into Ian Maatsen. It wasn't read well by the defender, and the Dutchman Ian Maatsen couldn't apply the finish. It's kept alive though by Dwight McNeil into Mukoku. Mukoku though, he can apply the finish, and within the space of about 5 or 10 minutes, we've totally turned this game on its head. Well, it was a wonderful ball through from Jota. I thought Ian Maatsen wasn't going to be able to get there. He did, but he fired it straight at Ederson. In the end though, it came to the striker, and that was the finish of the striker. Lovely little touch there from Mukoku, just a toe poke into the left-hand side of the net. He is delighted, so am I. It's 2-1. So here we go then. 2 goals in the first half. Put a really good cushion between ourselves and Manchester City. But I'm sure the English Giants will be absolutely desperate to put a change to that here as we begin the second 45. As look at this. Rodri just storming through my defence. Mark Gay trying to challenge. Doesn't able to. Grealish though into Haaland. Lovely play into De Bruyne. Jordan Pickford once again to my rescue. It's going to be a corner though that is thrown in by Kevin De Bruyne. It's headed away by Patterson. Only out as far as Grealish. Grealish, lovely little shift and tries to lay on a strike, but in the end it was just about blocked off, and it's easy for the goalkeeper. Into Mark Gay, trying to play this one out of defence to try and see if we can beat the Manchester City press here. It's knotted down, and we do not manage to beat the press. They win the ball back inside our half, and now Nunez can release Rodrigo yet again down this right hand side. He's going to try and go one-on-one with Branthwaite. Can we try and hold them up? No, we can't. In the end though, it looks like we've just given away a penalty, and it looks like the referee is about to give it. Branthwaite yet again has given away another penalty. He's done that on multiple occasions in this career mode, and this is arguably the worst time to do it. Manchester City now have a route back into this game, and Haaland sends the goalkeeper the wrong way, just dinks it into the centre of the goal. A lovely little chip finish, and Manchester City now back in this game. It's 2-1. Branthwaite into Maatsen. We've got to try and keep our composure here. We have to secure 3 points if we want to keep our Premier League title hopes alive. But with passes like that, we are doing ourselves absolutely no favours. Manchester City showing that experience and that panache now as they really start to ramp up the pressure. It's Unal now to drive into the box. Branthwaite comes across. This time it's a much better challenge from the young man, and he manages to escape the clutches of the Manchester City press and get the ball clear. Jota though has it, and Jota again is being pressed here by Kevin De Bruyne. The Manchester City players really have their tails up here. They sense blood, and they sense this is their opportunity, as that is not the pass I wanted. And in the end, we give it away really cheaply yet again. It's been a really poor second half from us, and it's just, are we starting to lose our heads? Branthwaite, though, makes amends for his earlier mistake, wins the ball back high, and now I can try and see if I can release Jota. Got the pass wrong, though, but in the end, we get a bit of luck, and it goes out for an Everton throw. But it will be Ian Maatsen who will take the throw, and he finds that Onana in a really good pocket of space here down this left-hand side. He's going to try and float it in, looking for the back post of Dwight McNeil. He got his head on it, but he got the head all wrong. He had to hit the target from there. It was a wonderful cross. He was in a brilliant position. Oh, he's put it wide. How on earth did he miss? Well, that was a big opportunity once again to put daylight between the two teams. And once again, we did not take it. Rodrigo for City. About 10 minutes plus stoppage time remaining on the clock here for one of these two teams to get a goal. And to hopefully, for our sake, secure 3 points. But for Manchester City, they're going to look to try and see if they can equalise here with Sergio Gomez into Erling Haaland. Now into Unal, who now strikes. Another huge save from Pickford. Well, we are living life on the edge here. We've got to keep our composure. We've got to keep our professionalism and make sure we keep this win here. But Kevin De Bruyne now has it. They've done a really good job of working on that short corner to open up my defence, but Dwight McNeil manages to win it back from Ruben Diaz, and now he plays it into Moukoko, and this is the chance, this is the opportunity for us to put the game to bed. Moukoko into the box, and Moukoko into the back of the net. Look at the celebrations. Yes, they can begin, because with just 5 minutes remaining on the clock, we have doubled our lead yet again and put a 2-goal cushion between ourselves and Manchester City. It is 3-1 here at Goodison Park, much to Manchester City's frustration. It was a brilliant counter-attack. Dwight McNeil won the ball back on the edge of the box, and Moukoko had the speed and the stamina to get away from the high line of the Manchester City defence. And in the end, when he's one-on-one with a goalkeeper, you always know the outcome. It's Everton 3, it's Manchester City 1. And with that being the last attack of the game, as you can see as I shake the hand of Pep Guardiola and salute the Everton fans, the Everton players are absolutely delighted. It was a real hard-fought victory here. We didn't do enough in the second half to really assert ourselves, but fortunately enough, a Jordan Pickford masterclass and 2 wonderful goals from that man secure the 3 points and a 3-1 victory at full time. Well, 2 games against Manchester City down. They won the first one, they lost the second one, but what is going to happen in the third one? And so yet again, we are diving straight back into the football, and yet again, it is against Manchester City, but this time, it is the second leg of the Champions League quarter-finals. We lost 1-0 in the first leg, and we have it all to do here at the Etihad. We must get another victory, otherwise we will go crashing out of Europe's biggest cup competition. However, with the games coming thick and fast, we have a bit of a problem defensively. As you can see, Sangante on in place of Branthwaite, who doesn't even make the bench, and Mark Gay, both of their staminas is almost through the floor here, and I am questioning whether or not they're going to be able to make the 90 minutes. As for the rest of my defence, Pickford of course keeps his place in goal, Teresiano starts at right back, Hato on the left, Onana too is also struggling a little bit as he partners Matt Riley, and Damsgaard in midfield. Bakayoko, Jota and Broppy make up my attack. So here we go then, another huge game and another one that could be classed as our biggest of the season. Manchester City will be eager to right the wrongs of that Premier League loss and eager to try and dump us out of the Champions League. Jordan Pickford has it now as he tries to bring it out of goal here into Sangante, into Mark Gay. We've got to be clever here as we've got to try and see if we can beat the Manchester City press, but we cannot catch ourselves cold here as Brian Brobby tries to play it through to the on-rushing Damsgaard. It was well intercepted though by the Manchester City defence, and of course the danger man Kevin De Bruyne has it as he tries to streak forward and finds a nice ball out to Rodrigo on the right hand side. This time though, Hato the Dutchman comes across. Good defending from the young man. O'Reilly round the corner, lovely little pass, and he manages to just skip past the challenge there of Teresiano, and now Bakayoko feeds it down the right hand side, cuts it back inside for Damsgaard. Damsgaard on his left, Damsgaard to strike, good block from Ruben Diaz. It's a corner, and it is one that Jota is going to try and take. The Portuguese is going to try and throw this one into the box. He does, looking for the header, Mark Gay, who got up to it, but in the end just dragged his header wide. It was another huge opportunity for us. Well, as it stands at the moment, we will be out of the Champions League if we do not get a goal, and if we continue to miss big opportunities like that one. Jack Grealish, short one into Kovacic, down the line into the channel of Erling Haaland. And of course, the Premier League's top goal scorer will now try and streak down this right-hand side and go one-on-one with Mark Gay, a fatigued Mark Gay, who can't quite get hold of him. And now, though, this time, I believe it's Teresiano who came across with the challenge. He did, but we don't manage to clear our lines here. Manchester City still have it. Kevin De Bruyne blocked off, though, by Zangante. Brilliant defending, but he loses it in the end. And in the end, though, once again, it is Jordan Pickford who comes to my rescue. But it's going to be Kevin De Bruyne who's going to take the resulting corner thrown in. This time, it's Hato who clears his lines. Manchester City are well and truly in the ascendancy here at the first half an hour here of the first half. Akanji has it. Onana with the challenge. Can we try and see if we can hit them on the counter-attack? It's Damsgaard now, round the corner, into Bakayoko. He will play in O'Reilly. O'Reilly to drive into the box here. O'Reilly, oh, I just slowed up too much. I was trying to shift it onto his left to try and see if he could strike, and he just got his footwork all wrong, and Manchester City managed to clear their lines. But Bakayoko wins it back in a dangerous position. Can he try and pick out a man here? Damsgaard drags it wide again. Well, we've had two big opportunities in the opening 35 minutes here, neither of which we could take. And opportunities are generally few and far between when you're playing Manchester City. You have to be clinical in front of goal, and we have not been so far, and hopefully that does not come back to bite us as Kabore goes down the right hand side. It's well blocked off though by Hato. He plays a lovely ball into Jota, and Jota now can try and drive down this left hand side. I was going to try and play in the striker, but he was straying offside. Jota throws it back in. I was looking for the head of Bakayoko, couldn't quite find him though. Onana will find him, and Bakayoko has another opportunity. This time finds Teresiano. He dinks it across, looking for Brian Brobby on the head. It's off the crossbar. Damsgaard with his head. What a head and what a goal and what a way to equalise here on aggregate. It's 1-0 Manchester City. The celebrations can begin right on the stroke of half time. What a cross in. Brian Brobby will be gutted. He thought he'd scored. It came off the crossbar, but Damsgaard was the first to react, and that was a wonderful header. Too accurate for the goalkeeper. Edison just couldn't get across quick enough, and Damsgaard gets us back into this game. We level it on aggregate. It's 1-1. Here we go then as we begin the second half here. It is 1-1 on aggregate, and obviously away goals no longer count here, so it's either teams to win. I'm sure it's been such a tight affair so far that just one goal will do it, but which of these two teams is going to get the victory? Mark Gay now to try and play it out of defence. This Manchester City press, man for man here, we are struggling to get through, but Matt O'Reilly into Onana. Onana is going to look for the ball into Jota. Jota, though, with his back to play, has to go backwards and has to try and find a ball out wide to Teresiano. We're building out here, just trying to be patient, just trying to see if we can unlock this stubborn Manchester City defence, as Damsgaard has a nice opportunity to bring it forward. Tried to play it into Jota, was just a bit too eager there. We've got to be better in the final third. The ball for City into Rodrigo, looking to strike back here in the opening 10 minutes of the second half. Kevin De Bruyne has it into the danger man Haaland. Lovely play into Kovacic again, the former Chelsea man to strike. But fortunately enough, we came across, and in the end it was deflected into the arms of Jordan Pickford. Balde now for Manchester City, won the ball back inside our half here and tries to go central, but Teresiano wins the ball back brilliantly. That man has been a revelation at right back this season. He's been absolutely wonderful, and he has the composure to just get away from the press. Lovely stuff here. Jota now down the left-hand side, tried to feed it down the line into Hato, but in the end went to throw. Jack Grealish now central into Erling Haaland. He goes over to the left-hand side into the path of Rodri. Teresiano again though with the double block. Akanji now has it for Manchester City. Of the two teams, they are looking the most likely to score here in the second half, as they have control and they have possession as they try and unlock my defence. Nunes though, back into Ruben Diaz. Almost every man, aside from the Manchester City goalkeeper, inside our half here as Rodri tries to bring it forward. Does manage to bring it forward down this left-hand side. Teresiano though is going to try and block him off. He does enough, but Kevin De Bruyne now has it for City. Into Jack Grealish. They're building. They're just trying to see if they can find an opening here. Grealish almost found it, and Pickford though beats the ball away for a Manchester City corner. And with just 5 minutes remaining on the clock, it's a corner that could well be priceless for Manchester City. Thrown into the near post. Bakayoko tries to head it away. It isn't headed away particularly far though. Matt O'Reilly does eventually manage to clear the lines, but only out as far as Ruben Diaz. He has it now into Akanji. Manchester City keep the pressure up on us. Erling Haaland well blocked off though by Zangante, and now we've got the opportunity to try and counter. It's Cesar Huerta into the path of Hato, and the Dutch left back has the opportunity here. 3-on-1 here into Brian Brobby, and the other Dutchman Brian Brobby in stoppage time of the Champions League second leg quarter final surely gets the winner here for Everton. Look at the celebrations, even I'm getting involved. The Evertonians cannot quite believe what they've witnessed. We have caught Manchester City cold on the counter-attack, and with three players driving forward, Hato unselfishly played it into his national compatriot, into Brian Brobby, and the striker did the rest. From close range, smashed it into an empty net and smashed us through to the Champions League semi-final. Everton cannot quite believe what they've witnessed. Manchester City players cannot quite believe what they've witnessed. They battered us in the second half, but all it took was one chance, one counter-attack, and one goal from this man, Brian Brobby, to get the victory at full time. 2-1 on aggregate. Everton are in the Champions League semi-final. Well, I spoke at the beginning of the episode about how his form has tailed off here in the second half of the season, but what a time to step up yet again. The biggest game of our season so far and the biggest goal of our season so far. Brian Brobby, take a bow. And with another solid display from Jordan Pickford, keeping Manchester City strikers at bay and keeping himself a clean sheet, he has become the clean sheet leader in the Champions League. 5 clean sheets in just 10 games. Now, with some up and down performances this season, I did put the question to you in a poll on my channel whether or not you think I should sell him, as he does only have 1 year left remaining on his contract. Now, despite him being 87 rated and being the best player in my entire squad, the majority of you thought that I should sell him when the summer transfer window reopens. However, after performances like the one against Manchester City, I'm starting to think he is beginning to find his form and starting to think it may not be the best option to sell the English international. So with just about a month and a half left left remaining in this season. Let's see how he performs in these final few games, and then based on those performances, let's make a decision whether or not I want to consider selling him. However, from one incredible cup competition to another, after beating Nottingham Forest 1-0 in the quarter-finals of the FA Cup, we head into the semi-finals as clear favourites against Crystal Palace as we look to book our place in the FA Cup final. Everton haven't won this cup competition since 1995. A lot of the Evertonians weren't even born the last time they won it. Can we do the unthinkable and continue our march towards the treble, secure our place in the final by beating Crystal Palace here at Wembley? And with fatigue continuing to run rampant through the camp, once again I have had to make several enforced changes. Pickford does keep his place in goal, Terestiano also keeps his place at right back, but Hatto has to shift to an unlikely centre back as he will partner Branthwaite in the back of my defence. Maatsen will take his place on left hand side. Garner will play in the midfield, he will partner Matt O'Reilly with Damsgaard behind the striker. Bakayoko starts on the right, Brobby of course keeps his place up front, but Cesar Huerta starts on the left hand side. Here we go then, our third massive game of this episode. They are coming thick and fast, but we wouldn't have it any other way. Llorente for Crystal Palace. Lovely little ball into Oreo, who tries to streak down this right-hand side, and he plays a nice ball into win there, and he now finds Eze. Eze, of course, the danger man for Palace. What a strike from distance, and Jordan Pickford, just after me talking him up in the previous game with some wonderful saves, just palmed it right into the path of the on-rushing Crystal Palace striker, and he had an empty net just to play it into inside the 6-yard box, and 10 minutes in, Crystal Palace take the lead. It was a brilliant strike from Eze, but Jordan Pickford could have done better. He could have parried it out anywhere else, and Franca was on hand on the edge of the 6-yard box just to volley it into an empty net, and Crystal Palace, inside 10 minutes, take a 1-0 lead. Oh, I don't believe it. Jordan Pickford continues his up and down form here this season. My highest rated player. His performances sometimes are just not reflecting that rating whatsoever. Teresiano to ghost in the midfield, plays to Damsgaard round the corner, back to Branthwaite now as we try and bring it out of defence and see if we can regain our composure and try and regain some control in this game. But we've got to give it away. It's been a really poor opening 15 minutes from us. As Crystal Palace now are going to try and see if they can hit us on the counter-attack. Llorente into Oreo down the right-hand side. He's looking for Eze, can't find him, so instead he's just going to run all the way himself. James Garner tries to come across the cover, doesn't do a good enough job. Llorente, though, looks like he's blocked off by Branthwaite. Good defending in the end, though. But Crystal Palace with the press win it back inside my penalty area. But fortunately enough, they just stray offside. We can breathe a sigh of relief, and we can win a free kick. Hatto sweeping ball over to Ian Maatsen on the left-hand side, who took it down beautifully into James Garner, into Cesar Huerta. Lerma, though, was in the way at the right time, and once again Crystal Palace can try and hit us on the counter-attack. Our passing in the final third has not been good enough, as opposed to theirs. Llorente is clean through here, and Llorente, oh my word, I do not believe it. Luck would have it, Jordan Pickford saved it, but it just bounced straight back against one of my defenders and straight into the path of the Crystal Palace midfielder, and he applies a nice little finish and a lovely way to double their lead here at Wembley. Well, are we completely falling apart? It's been a horrendous start to this game. It was a very unfortunate bit of luck there. We just didn't bounce in our favour. Instead, it bounced right into the path of this man Llorente, and yet again inside the 6-yard box, just all he needed to do was pass it into an empty net. Crystal Palace 2, Everton 0. Well, 30 minutes on the clock here, and we have it all to do at Wembley. We have totally fallen apart. What on earth is happening? The highs of the Champions League to the lows now of seeing our FA Cup dream falling right before our eyes. But now we're going to try and see if we can put a stop to that with Bakayoko trying to get into the box here. He cuts it back into the path of Brian Brobby. Brobby into O'Reilly. O'Reilly into Damsgaard. Damsgaard tried to strike, took too long, and the former Everton man, Decore, was on hand to block for Crystal Palace. Llorente again for Palace though, and now it's Eze. Lovely ball into Oreo down the right-hand side. We are just being opened up at will here. Branthwaite tried to challenge into Llorente though, and fortunately enough for me, he smashed it high and wide. Crystal Palace yet again opening up my defence at will here. Eze though blocked off by Branthwaite, and now this is our opportunity to try and see if we can hit Crystal Palace on the counter here. Cesar Huerta into Bakayoko. Bakayoko goes down the right hand side into Teresiano, but again it's just the passing's too slow. The momentum is blocked, but Bakayoko has it into Damsgaard, and yet again this time it's Mason Holgate, the former Everton man, yet again to block us, and yet again Crystal Palace bring it away as the referee blows for half-time here at Wembley. Well, we've just had absolutely no luck here in the first half of the FA Cup semi-final. Every single block, every single interception just seems to fall into the path of a Crystal Palace player, but we've got to try and see if we can get a stroke of luck here in the second half, get our composure, get ourselves together, and try and get ourselves back on level terms, as Teresiano is going to be the man to try and do that here, and he couldn't find the ball into Brian Brobby. Again, wonderful last-ditch defending from Crystal Palace, and they bring it out of their half. Lerma for Crystal Palace into Doucouré. Of course, he will be absolutely delighted if he can knock his former club out of the FA Cup here. Doucouré has it yet again, tried to go past Matt O'Reilly, the man who displaced him in the centre of midfield, and now Crystal Palace have a lovely opportunity to get a third goal, but Jordan Pickford makes amends for his earlier mistake and does a brilliant job of keeping the Crystal Palace strikers at bay, but once again they win it high up the field. We cannot seem to get out of our own half here. Doucouré into Eze. Eze shielding the ball well. Hato though wins it back, and can we try and see if we can hit them on the counter-attack? But they've got too many men back here as Bakayoko tries to get away from the challenge. Bakayoko can't get away from Mitchell. Crystal Palace here are absolutely relentless, winning the ball back high up the field. They try to streak into my box. Matt O'Reilly wins it back, but Mitchell is the first man to the ball. Every 50-50 Crystal Palace have won. Teresiano can't win it back from Mitchell. Doucouré into Eze. Eze shifts it onto his left and strikes, and Eze surely puts the dagger through the heart of the Evertonians. He gives Crystal Palace their third of the game, and has he just knocked us out of the FA Cup? What is happening? We've gone from beating Manchester City in the dying moments of the Champions League quarter-finals to completely unravelling here in the FA Cup semi-final. Crystal Palace, the underdogs, lead 3-0. 15 minutes left remaining on the clock here. Every single man inside the Crystal Palace half. But is it going to be too little too late? Crystal Palace, though, doing a wonderful job of still defending high, though. Dele Alli has it now on as a substitute. Feeds it out to Ian Matson. That wasn't exactly the ball I was hoping to play. But now it's Moukoko on as a substitute as well. And that pretty much just sums up the performance here today. Smashed it against a stoic Crystal Palace defence. James Garner, though, wins it back and plays it into Dele Alli. He plays it into Cesar Huerta. Around the corner into Moukoko. Moukoko on. Moukoko cannot find the back of the net. It's Henderson with another big save. O'Reilly will take the corner here. 5 minutes remaining on the clock here. It's fired into the box. Looking for the head of Cesar Huerta. It goes over his head, but only goes out as far as Hato feeds it back out now into Cesar Huerta. He turns around the corner into James Garner. James Garner tries to put it onto his right, tries to line up a strike, does strike. Smashed away, though, by the Crystal Palace defenders. O'Reilly into Cesar Huerta, around the corner into Ian Matson. Ian Matson drives into the box, cuts it back into the path of Moukoko. That is more like it. Where on earth has that been the entire game? It's only enough to score a consolation goal here in stoppage time. Moukoko celebrates. I've got no idea why we're celebrating so much. It was a lovely piece of build-up play, though, it has to be said. A lovely little cutback and a wonderful finish into the bottom left-hand corner from Moukoko. But it is not going to be enough to save us here in the FA Cup semi-final. As I shake the hand of Roy Hodgson as the referee blows the whistle for full time, he celebrates in front of the Crystal Palace fans. That man Eze was a thorn in my side for the entire 90 minutes. As at full time here at Wembley, it finishes Crystal Palace 3, Everton 1, as our hopes of a famous treble are dashed. Dumped out of the FA Cup, just one game away from the final, and it means with just 6 games remaining in the Premier League, and with us being drawn against Atletico Madrid in the semi-final of the Champions League, if this squad want to win a piece of silverware for the first time in this career mode, we're going to have to do it in the most difficult competitions in European football. But that is it for the end of today's episode. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you everyone for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again next time.